Hi, I'm Rita Wilkins, also known as the Downsizing Designer. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you that will be joining me tonight, and I will be thinking about you as I'm with my family as well. So tonight's topic is downsizing your home in your 60s, and read this first. So when you reach the age of 60, you're beginning to enter a new stage of your life that can be both terrorizing and exciting. It's a time of change, big change, and these changes can be scary because you're being confronted by letting go of what has been comfortable in your life and stepping into something that is much less comfortable. So, as an example, downsizing that house that you raised your kids in, leaving that neighborhood that everyone knows you and you know everyone, and retiring from a job that you and a career that you've had for 20 or 30 years. All of these things are making you move forward, step out of your comfort zone. So a common strategy for baby boomers who are, turning 60 or in their 60s, who have become or will soon become empty nesters, is to consider downsizing to a smaller, more manageable, more efficient, more affordable home. And this kind of life changing decision is never easy. As a matter of fact, it can be so overwhelming and emotional, causing some baby boomers to just resist and to defer that decision to declutter and downsize to someday in the future. And as you know, someday is not a day of the week, and someday may never come. So, how do you know when the right time to downsize and declutter is? And how? And here are some wake up calls. I'm going to call them 3 wake up calls for you to watch out for that will help you decide that right now it's time. So that big house is just not working for you anymore. Excuse me. Your kids are gone. The house feels empty. There are too many rooms that are being unused. The house is too big, too expensive to manage and to maintain. And you're spending way too much time and energy just keeping up with the big house and all the property, and it's wearing you out. And at this stage of the game, we're trying to live a little simpler without all of those encumbrances. The second thing is, it's time to discover what's missing in your life. You might hear yourself say, and you may not even know what it is, but something's missing in your life. Your life is on autopilot. It's just too busy. It's like being on that hamster wheel and getting nowhere. And you're tired of that status quo kind of life. You really are longing for a new life that you jump out of bed for, a lifestyle that lights you up, and you have more time, money, and freedom to pursue those things that really matter to you. And you may not even know what this is, but part of the wake-up call is there's something inside that just is calling you to say, what's missing in my life? And the third thing is, it's time for you, and it's about time it's your time. So the kids are grown. All of those responsibilities, or many of those responsibilities, are just not as burdensome. They've left the nest. They might be on their own. And your life has changed too, and so have you. And it's time for you to prioritize what matters most to you, and at this particular stage of your life. So as life changes, so do our needs, and so do we. So do you recognize any of these wake-up calls, and are any of these calling you right now? If so, it's great that they are, but the hardest part is not just to recognize it, but also to act upon it. And acting on that little voice that's calling you to move forward. So remember that someday is not a day of the week, and if you're being nudged to let go, to move on to that new home, to that new lifestyle, take heed of that little voice. Listen to what it's telling you, and take action now. Because if not now, when will you decide to downsize and declutter? So here are a few quotes that I've heard from baby boomers who waited too long, and they regret not downsizing and decluttering sooner. The first one is, I wish I had decluttered and downsized sooner. I wish I had said goodbye to the big house that was no longer working for me. And I wish I had said hello to a smaller house that felt right for that stage of your life. So many of you might have already downsized, and you're experiencing that you do have more time, money, and freedom to do things that you really want to do. So a second quote was, I wish I had seized the opportunity to live more intentionally rather than by default. So how many of us just go around and around and around, and especially here at holiday time where we have all those have-tos and the shoulds, the obligations, rather than living by default. You could live intentionally and actually choose what really matters to you. And when you are living that way, you have more time, money, and freedom to travel while you're still young and still able. And the third quote was, I wish I had prioritized myself sooner and spent less time worrying about making everything perfect and making the perfect choice. So how many of you are perfectionists? And I guess it's something to consider, especially here at the holiday time where everything has to be so perfect. Think of maybe spending a little less time being perfect, a little more time being with your family, and just enjoying those moments. So the quote continues, if I had stepped out of my comfort zone sooner, if I had taken charge of living in a smaller space, I would have had more time, money, and freedom to do more of what I wanted to do and less of what I had to do. And the last quote is, I wish I had given myself permission to downsize and declutter sooner. I realize now how much time and money I wasted on trying to impress others with my big house, when in fact, I'm so much happier now that I live in a smaller home and have a simpler life. So these are just a few examples of real people's experiences and regrets that they didn't listen to that wake-up call a little bit sooner. So as you're trying to decide whether you should take that big step to downsize and declutter in your 60s, listen to what that little voice is saying. And it's just taking a little quiet time. And when you hear it, write it down, because chances are it's going to keep repeating itself. So listen to that voice that is kind of saying to you, it's time. Of course, the easy part is hearing that call, and the hardest part is answering it and actually taking action so that you can live more fully in that third act and make it the best act of your life. So I want to point out something that might interest some of you. In March 2023, I am going to be, in February 2023, I'll be hosting an online mastermind. For those of you who are curious and would like to attend that online workshop, we're accepting only 100 people, and you do have to sign up. So we don't have a sign up yet, but get on our waiting list, and when it is announced, then you will be notified. You can email me at ritawilkins@ritawilkins.com. So I'm wishing all of you a blessed Thanksgiving with your family. Have a great holiday.